Yeah, so my name's Rushita. I'm currently a junior at William Primm High School. Welcome to Intro to Web Development for Beginners. I'm really excited to start this lesson. So before we get into it, so this course is going to be over 10 weeks long, so like an hour and a half session every Saturday. And I'm so excited for you guys to learn. You guys will be learning 3 languages: CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. However, CSS and HTML are technically not languages, they're markup languages, so that'll just be page structure and style information. And eventually, you guys will be making your own projects towards the end of the course, and those will be something that I assign, so it won't be something completely out of your own idea. They will have guidelines, but you guys will be making those with minimal help, so be excited for that. And these languages are used for websites by pretty much all companies, so that's pretty interesting. And I think since we have 18 people here, do you guys want to talk about what grade you're in? You can put it in the chat real quick. Just type in what grade you are, just so I can have an idea of who the audience is right now. I can give you guys 3 minutes to do that real quick. All right, so we got a lot of middle schoolers. Wow, you guys are really ahead doing this in 7th grade. Okay, guys, nice to know. So I just wanted to know that just to get an idea of who's in the audience. And now we can get started. So first thing you guys need to do is download VS Code. So VS Code is a
Rushita, are you sharing your screen?
no, I'm not sharing it yet. I think they can just type this into the browser. Yeah. Yeah. So VS Code is a platform that we'll be using throughout this course, and it's just a really easy platform to get started with if you're a beginner. So type into your browser, go to Chrome or Google and type in VS Code download. Can you guys see my screen right now? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, Amma. Yeah.
Okay. So just type in download VS Code and click on the first link that you get, which should be by Visual Studio Code. And you want to download whatever type of Mac computer you're using. So if you guys are using a Mac, after you download it, make sure to change the location of the application to your applications file, or it's going to give you a lot of errors otherwise. And if you guys aren't sure which type to download, just put your computer type in the chat and I'll take a look at which one you should download. And let me know when all of you guys are done with this. So we'll have 10 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes for this. I see that a lot of new people just joined. So to catch you guys up, right now we're downloading Visual Studio Code. It's a platform that we're going to be using to code throughout this course. So you can go into your browser and type this, just Visual Studio Code download, and download whatever kind of computer you have. How are you guys doing with this? Any difficulty downloading it or is it all good? You can type in the chat or you can even turn on your mic and speak. That would be really nice. All right, I see in the chat that it's working for a lot of people, so that's good. If a few more people could respond, we can get started with some notes. So after you download it, it should be coming up on your desktop if you could just drag it there from your folders file.
Sure.
Yeah, Ashok Jesta, I think. What do you need help with? You can type in the chat or do you want to speak up so we could just run through that a little bit faster? So after you download it, go to your folders file. So in Mac, I think this is gonna be your Finder. So if you go to Finder, you should be seeing this in your recents or your downloads like this. And this is after I moved it to the applications. So after you download it, move it to your applications file so that it looks something like, well, you can't see it in mine, but you should move it to your applications file, or if you're having Android, you could just unzip it. I think you have to usually do that. And then move this to your desktop, or you can just click on it from here and open Visual Studio Code, and we'll get started from there. So we're not going to be coding right away. So if you guys are having some difficulty with this, you guys could still keep working on that as we go along with the notes. Or should we wait for a bit more time? All right, I think we can start at 11:15 with the notes. So 2 more minutes just to catch up with getting everything downloaded. So before we get started with notes, I definitely recommend getting a notebook or just opening up another tab on your computer, like a Google Doc or something, just to write down some notes. I might post the slideshow, so that'll be available to everyone, but definitely I'd still make some kind of notes because only you will understand what you're having difficulty with and what you'll need to focus on, because the slides will be general. All right, let's get started with the notes. So you guys will be learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as I mentioned. So on this slideshow, we'll be focusing on HTML and CSS. So HTML is a hypertext markup language. So this means it gives whatever you code in HTML is what your website is going to look like, right? So when you type in HTML tutorial, for example, that's going to be the header. So in the next slide, you can see this is what it's going to be looking like, right? So the title, what is HTML, is going to be what your browser is called. So you can see that up here, what is HTML. And then moving on, that's going to be in the header. So in HTML, actually, we can focus on that later. Let me just tell you how you can get this website to look like this right now. So that's the title. Now, as these are called header tags. H1 is a header tag. So in the body, whatever you type in the body is going to be what your code is going to be looking like. So that's going to be how your website will look. So H1, the header tag, is HTML tutorial. And as you write bigger numbers like H3 or H4, I think you can go all the way up to H6. Your text will be getting smaller. So over here, when you typed in header 3, for example 1, you can see that the text got smaller and everything that you type in your body, once again, even if you don't understand all of this slideshow, the only thing you really need to understand is whatever you type in the body tags, which are these tags right here, is going to be what your website will be looking like. And all the code in here is only going to be the code that it's only going to be HTML code and nothing of CSS or JavaScript. So yeah, and now we have an image tag. So image tags can be used to display images, change the color of images, anything of that sort. And over here, you guys might be thinking, well, JPG could be any image file like across the web, right? But that actually won't work. It has to be a picture that's in the folder that you made this website in. You guys will understand more of this later on, probably maybe by the end of today or maybe by the end of next lesson, we can get to that. But when you make a file or when you make like a website file, when you're coding on it in VS Code, you're going to have a folder that you make it in your applications or your hard drive, right? So in that, you're going to have to add this picture for that specific folder. If it's not in that folder but in your computer, that still won't be working because the picture is associated directly with the file that you're working in that specific folder. So next, these are called paragraph tags. So in paragraph tags, you can see that there is a difference. You're putting in text here, but you're not putting it in a header tag. So header tags are used only for titling something or making something that's more important stand out. But over here, you're just having something smaller like your name right here, the text that you're wanting for the user to type in. That's something a bit smaller and not as significant as a title. So those things you would include in paragraph tags. And over here, you can notice that in paragraph tags, you can also include other tags, but in header tags, you can't. And you also can't do that in image tags. Image tags are solely for images. And over here, SRC would stand for source, if you're wondering. So yeah. And next, for the input type. So how you actually get this text box to show up in your paragraph tag is by using input type text and then assigning it an ID of anything. You can name this anything. We just happen to have form ID right here. So you have to have an ID for this because whenever the user types in a their name or whatever it is, if there's a purpose that you're trying to use that for, right? You're trying to use that for something specific. Like, for example, maybe you're trying to use their name to add it to a list of other people. Like if there was a restaurant website and they were typing in all their address and everything like that, you're trying to get that address and add it to your other data to see, okay, so you're trying to add it to your other data to see where most of your customers are coming from or anything like that. If you were trying to evaluate your data, you want to save this data. And to save it, each data will be having an ID. And also we want to make sure that we specify here that we're doing text because there's many other things that you could also that the input type could also be. So we want to always mention that it's going to be text if you're looking for a text box. And of course, we always want to end our tags. So that's going to be the body tag. And HTML is the first tag that we start with. So we also want to end that. Do you guys have any questions or anything that we want to go over once again? You can type that in the chat or turn on your mic. All right, so in this slide, I'm just going over some things again. So you always begin and end in HTML. Yeah, I could post a slideshow for sure. One sec. You guys, I just posted a link to I just posted a link to the slideshow in the chat. So if anyone wants to follow along with that, that would be great. If you guys will find that more helpful.
We did not get it, Amma. If you can post it again, make sure you send it to everyone.
Oh, I think that was a direct message.
Yeah, yeah.
Did everyone get that?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
It says you need access for the slideshow.
Oh, let me change the access real quick. My bad. And someone let me know if that link works.
Yeah, it works.
All right. All right, so as I was saying, we always begin and end in HTML. And the title that we were talking about earlier, this is the inner HTML that's in the title tags. And the input type or the text box that we made is going to be a value. So when you're getting the ID of of whatever the user typed in, we're going to be using dot value instead of dot inner HTML, which we'll be using if you want to get any other type of data. And I know this might seem like we're going a bit fast, or like this really doesn't make a lot of sense right now. I definitely understand that, but it'll make more sense as we start getting into VS Code and actually start coding. So if anything you understand from this, just know that, as I was saying earlier, whatever you type in the body is what's going to be showing up on a website, and the general tags and how you utilize tags. All right, so next, div tags. So a div tag is pretty much just, when you make a div tag, you're pretty much just making an open category or like space in your website and it's going to be like an empty string pretty much, which you can add any kind of text, values, or images, whatever you want for like to show up or pop up there. So when you make a div ID, you always want to add, you don't always have to add a text. It could be an empty text, which you're going to be assigning value to later on. So you could be having empty text, and later on when you do something else in your code, like you run a few functions or you're getting the user input, maybe then you want to display that using a div tag. But something that you do want to have is an ID, and you could also have inner HTML like a name, but this isn't always necessary. But an ID is definitely necessary because that's the only way we'll be able to assign any kind of data or input to the div ID. And next, earlier we didn't really make it, but like earlier we saw text boxes. So where the user can type in or the user can add any kind of input. So this is like the full input type text box tags. So earlier we only saw with just the text and the ID, but if you add a value is what's going to be already included in the text box. So over here where it says your name, if you added a value, it would say Tuesday, like earlier how it was typed. You would have that already over there, and when you start typing, it would either disappear, however, or stay there, or depending on what else you do in your code. So is there anything that we should be going over in div tags? I'll give you guys a few minutes to write down any notes if you're taking them, or just looking over anything in the slideshow. And we'll start in a minute or two in the next topic, which is going to be CSS. All right, so CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, but you pretty much just call it CSS. And CSS is adding color, font, or anything of that sort that would like add some kind of uniqueness to your website. That's what CSS is. So if you're adding just HTML, your website's going to be looking pretty boring, so you definitely want to have CSS. So yeah, so CSS is a language for giving style to your web page. You can add fonts, colors, you can align your text. So earlier how we had the welcomes to HTML header tag, we could make that be in the middle of our website instead of to the right or to the left. And it's not a standard tool for giving a website functionality. So just like HTML, CSS, we can't really use to actually do anything with our code. It's just to make it look pretty and make it look presentable or make our website look more presentable. So style tags usually come right style tags usually come right after your title tag and right before your script tags. So script tags are what we're going to be using for JavaScript, where we'll actually be having the functionality and where we'll actually be coding in. So the style always comes right before that. And in the style, you want to have the body, so how you want the body to look. So this is a hex code. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of hex codes before, but when you assign a hex code to the background, that's that you're just assigning a color to the background. And you could have multiple font families, and you can assign each text a different font family if you like, or assign it all the same. You can specify that right over here. And like I was saying earlier, you can center the text. And this part is important. So when you're mentioning header 1 and header 3 tags right here, you're assigning those specific tags all the attributes that you're going to be putting in these curly braces. So these are called the curly braces, and when you're assigning the color gray, so earlier where we had earlier right here we had the header 1. So this was the header 1 and this was header 3, right? So over here in CSS, when you're adding it value by putting color semicolon gray, you're adding this specific header tags to be that color. You're not changing the value of anything else. However, with over here, you're adding general attributes, so that would apply to everything. So this would be really important if you're trying to add specific attributes to specific headers or text or parts of your website. So over here, you can see the difference of like with CSS and without CSS and how much like uniqueness it adds to your website, and also just how much like less boring and plain it makes it look, because otherwise I don't think many people would be using websites if they looked like this. So you always want to make your website look unique and add something like this to it. So I was thinking that we could go over notes on JavaScript and HTML, but that actually took a while, and I think we can get started with coding with how much we know right now just to see what our websites will be looking like. What do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to do more notes or start implementing some of the things that we learned? Type in the chat. Okay, I understand why a lot of people would want to do notes, since you guys might we need more knowledge before we can continue with actually coding. All right, since a lot of people want to do both, how about we do a little bit of coding first, and then we also do some notes, and then we can finish up the coding so we can do both things. So when you guys go to now you guys open up VS Code. There shouldn't be anything right now. Like, you guys shouldn't be having any files if this was your first time using VS Code. So just open it up, and I already have a folder open, but you just want to make a new file. Did everyone get to the part where they can add a file? And then we can start naming it. So we want to name it, let's name it Web Dev Day 1. And always mention HTML right after, because that's the language that we're gonna, or not the language, but the markup language that we're focusing on. So, and then just click create file. All right, so if it says getting started, you can click new file. It should open up right under. And we're using the platform VS Code right now. So RK, I think if you don't have it, go to your browser and type in download VS Code and download it for your specific computer type, so Windows, Mac, or anything of that sort. If anyone's having difficulty, could you mention like what's going on right now in your browser in the chat, and I could help you out with that. And there is no link for this. This is just on your computer when you just open up the VS Code. So this is what it should be looking like. And when you just double click it, you should open up to the getting started page. And from there, you can click new file. Okay, I see it's working for some people. That sounds good. What do you mean it's not doing anything? To the person who just typed in the chat, could you specify a bit more on what's going on? Or you could also, yeah, could you specify a bit more? So when you like click it, is it opening up to the get started screen? If not, I think you may need to open a blank screen, you can right click and then just click new folder. New file, sorry. After you click new file, type in webdevday1.html. So that's the name that I have right here. So if anyone's at the step where I am, where you typed in the name and you made a new file and you typed in the name, let me know in the chat. So to name the file, so let me just go through the process again. So you right click, you click new file, you click new file, and then type in webdev day 1, and don't type in what I'm about to type. I'm just naming this because I already made a file. Now, after you name it that, you don't want to click enter just yet. We want to specify what kind of language or markup language that we're coding in. So you want to do .html. So this assigns a specific type of language to your program and lets the VS Code platform know what you're coding in so it can run it properly. And then you want to click enter. And when you click enter, you should be automatically opened up into that file. Media size 3 for, I know you're asking what file you should download. Could you specify what kind of computer you have? Then I could tell you what kind.
I have a MacBook Air.
Okay, if you have a Mac, did you go to your browser and type in VS Code download?
1 second, I'll do that.
Yeah. Once you get there, you should go to a screen that looks like this. It's the first link that pops up, and just click on Mac.
After clicking that one, we have to press on download.
Yeah, so after you click Mac, you should press download right here, or it'll also just automatically download it for you like it did for me right here. If you see in the top right corner.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna give you a zip file. So then you wanna go to your Finder if you're using a Mac, or your folders if you're using anything else like Android or Dell or Windows or anything of that sort. And if you go to your downloads, it should pop up right here. It says VS Code Darwin Universal.zip for me. And you want to unzip this or just move it to your applications like that. If you're using Mac, that is. All right, now let's get started with. Oh, one sec. All right, just a reminder, you should name it webdev day1.html. All right, so once you're in this file, you want to do shift exclamation mark and then click enter. And when you do that, this automatic template should just pop up. So again, what you want to do is shift exclamation mark and enter all at the same time.
Rushita, there are a couple of questions on the chat, Amma.
Yeah, I was responding to them right now.
Sure.
So if you want to create a new file, right click and then select new file. And then after you do that, so when you right click and click new file, you should be able to name it. And name it webdev day1.html. You can see it right here. So did everyone type in the exclamation point and click enter to get this template? Okay, so since everyone's at that step, let's continue. So after you do that, you can now even access what your website looks like so far. So if you go to your folders where you saved this file, mine's in my, you can probably see it in your recents too. So when you click it, can you guys see my website right now? There's nothing on there. So it's just like plain because we didn't add anything yet. We didn't add any kind of text or color. So what you have to type in is shift exclamation point and then click enter. Oops. All at the same time for the template to show up. So you want to right click on over here to the left. So this is where you want to right click. It's going to be in your Explorer. So you see how you have a search, you have a source control. You want to go to the Explorer and type in there. I mean, not type in. You want to right click in the Explorer tab, which you can also do this. Hey, I'm Satika. What's not showing up for you? Like the VS Code or is VS Code not showing up for you or the website? Oh, the code on my screen. Okay, so if you're having trouble with trying to get it to show up, I just pasted it in the chat so you could also, oh, that wasn't to everyone. You could just paste it from what I put in the chat if it's not working for you. But pretty much all I did was click shift and then click 1 or the exclamation point and then click enter or return on your keyboard. And you want to do all of that in the same step for this to pop up. All right, so does everyone see their website? It should be looking like this right now. If you can't find it, just type it here. And when you click on it, you should be able to see your website and how it looks so far. And right now, this is just locally saved on your computer, so you won't be able to see this or access this on the actual web. This is just locally stored in your computer. You don't have to download HTML in your VS Code. You just have to do .html after you create the file when you're naming it to specify what language we're going to be using. All right, so I'll just give a few pointers to anyone who's already here so that they can start a little bit of like HTML and CSS just to see and run their website again. And then I'll get back to people in the chat who are having any kind of errors. All right, so you guys can see my screen opened up in VS Code, right? To everyone that's already here. Okay, so right after the head tag, you can, you don't really need these, but you can just leave those for now. But over here where it says title, you can name this whatever you want. So you could say my first website. And now when you go to your website and you rerun it, wait. after you rerun it, you should be seeing some kind of change, but you probably might not even notice that yet. So let's just go ahead and make a header tag. So this was what we were talking about earlier. So you want to do a greater sign, do a H, and then 1 if you want it to be large. And then when you click enter, it should automatically end the header tag for you. So here you could type my first website. Now let's look at our website now. You might have to like open it up back. Oh, we didn't save it. That's why it wasn't showing up the changes. So always make sure that you're saving your code when you want to rerun it, because only then will the changes be applied if you're saving whatever you're coding. And you know that you're saving it when there's no white dot right here, or I think it's red if you're in the light mode. So let me show you what it'll look like if you haven't saved your code. So when you haven't saved your code, there'll be this dot right here, right after your web page name. And when you do Control Save or Control S, it should be saving it. And that's what it'll look like then. So now when we open up our web page again, it should be looking something like this. So yeah, do you guys all see this on yours? Like, is this working for you? And if you didn't see what I typed in, here is that. It's just a quick header tag, and you're just typing in the text of what you want to show up on your website. To save it, you want to do Control S on your keyboard, and it should automatically save it through that. And to get header tags, you have to type in this right here. So let me do another header tag. And I think earlier we mentioned this. So when you do a larger number in the header tag, your text will be getting smaller. So if we did greater than and do H and do 3, and we end the tag with, oh, sorry, that was a less than sign. If we do, now we end it with a greater than sign, we can type in testing headers, for example, and now always make sure you save your code, because you see that there's a white dot right here. That means that you haven't saved your code yet. So when you do Control S now, it saved your code, and now when you refresh, look at that, we can see the next header. Is anyone having any errors with getting their like website to like pop up even? Because I know that can sometimes give errors. Yeah, this class is every Saturday at 11 CST. Okay, so to get the website to pop up, you want to go to your Finder if you have a Mac, or your wherever you like store all your folders if you're using any other kind of computer. And if you just go to your recents, you can see that you created the file called webdevday1.html. So if you click that, it should pop up like this. It's an hour and a half, this class, so it's actually going to end at 12:30. It's 11 to 12:30. If you can't find it in your Finder, maybe just type it, like search it up, because mine didn't show up in my recents yet either. I had to search up webdevday1.html, and then I'll do a more specified search, and you'll be able to find it more easily. Okay, I'm glad it worked. So after you guys get here, you can try putting in more tags, but that's gonna be pretty boring. So how about we try something new, like maybe a text box even, right? So to get a text box to show up, we want to do a less than sign and then type in input type, and then do an equal sign, sorry. And when you type in an equal sign, you'll get a empty string pop up automatically. So I don't think we mentioned this earlier, but these mean string. Two double quotes mean strings, and anything other than that will not be working in the input type, usually. Otherwise, unless you specify it for like if you're not doing a text box and you're doing something else, then that might work, but we'll have to look into that. So for right now, type in text right here because that you're trying to get a text box to show up on your website, right? So we want to mention that it's text. And then let's also give this an ID. And for the ID, what are we trying to get to them to type in the text, the users to type in the text box? Since we don't have an actual purpose for this website, let's just type in text box ID 1. And then we want to end the tag. So now when we oops, sorry, I don't think you guys heard me for a sec. Put some paragraph tags right around that, and this should be able to make you have a text box show up. And you also want to add a value to this like we talked about earlier. So to add a value, just type in value equals, and this is what's going to be showing up on your text box before you type anything in. So let's just put hello. And now you want to save your code. And now when you refresh, look at that, we have a text box. So because we added a value that said hello, it's already showing up as hello here. But if we took off the value part, which would be more efficient, we would just have, oh sorry, I forgot to save it again. And if you refresh, you'll see that it's an empty text box. So is everyone able to add a text box? If not, here's the code. And you really don't need this right now, so I'm just going to take this off to make the code look a bit more simple. And also, one more really important thing that you guys need to know is comments. Always comment out your code, because if you're going to look back, so after we code today and you're going to look back on this like in a week before like our next class session, you're going to be thinking, what the heck was I even doing? You're not going to understand your code. So to avoid that, we always want to add comments in our code. And although we may not be able to easily do that in the body tags, we can't really add comments. We can do that in the script tags, which comes right before it. So I just wanted to mention that, even though we're not going to be adding comments in the body right now. So to save your code, you just want to do Control S. So if in the Mac, that's going to be Command S. And you should be getting the text box to show up. Does everyone's website look like this right now? Could you guys type in the chat real quick? All right, so since it's working for a lot of people, let's go on and add some more stuff to our code. So now our code, okay, so now we have a title, we have a smaller header, and we have a text box. But we don't really have any kind of color to our website. We don't have color, we don't have any kind of styling, and it looks pretty boring just being black and white, right? So let's add some color, or CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, once again, like we talked about in the slideshow. So CSS we always add in style tags, and style tags come right before the body tags. So to be more specific, they come right after title. So that's even before the head tags finish. So right after title, click enter and do a smaller than or less than sign and type in style. And this is going to be giving a lot of errors right now, but that's just because we didn't end the style tag. So to end the style tag, we want to add a greater than sign, and that'll automatically end the tags for you. So after you end the tags, just click enter. And over here, we can provide any kind of CSS that we want throughout our website. So you can see this earlier in our slideshow as well. This is pretty much what we're going to be doing right now. So you can refer back to the slideshow if you need anything, because the link is in the chat. So I'm not going to be showing this right now. So if you want to look at that, just know that you have access to that. But yeah, so moving on. So now we created the style tags. Click enter, and now type body and type a curly brace. So curly braces you're going to be utilizing throughout the web page. So always type a curly brace right after. And then now we can give it a background color. So type in background. Okay, and one more really important thing is if you want to code, you really need to utilize enter and shift, because that just saves so much time with typing instead of typing every single character in. Like right now, I would have had to type in background and then color and all that, but now I can just do shift and it automatically just comes here for me, and now I can select a color. And this may be a really simple example, and you might be thinking, why can't I just type in background color? It's really not a big deal. But when you start coding in bigger programs, this is going to be really useful. So just keep that in mind, that you don't have to type in everything, that you really don't have to type everything in, and that sometimes it'll just come up automatically and you can just click shift, enter. All right, so now let's select a background color. So earlier you saw that we had a bunch of options show up that aren't showing up now, which is because I clicked out of here. So right now you could just click that, but if it's not showing up because you clicked out, you can manually type in a hex code. So type in hashtag, and that's the hex code for the color white. So after you type that in, now you can use that. Now you can click on white and use the color picker, which is this little thing right here, to select another color. So I'm just gonna do a pastel green. And now when I save my code and refresh, look at that. The website changes color because that's what you added in the style tags. Is everyone at this step?
Yes.
Also, Nitya Sai, what do you mean by sending the command? What are you looking for?
Actually, I don't know why I can't catch up because I had some difficulties. So, like, can you send the command, like
Like,
all the one that you typed?
oh, so you want the code? Yeah, for sure. I can paste that into the chat. So if anyone else needs this too, just paste everything. Okay, you guys, the code is in the chat. So if you're having difficulty with anything, maybe compare your code to this or just copy paste this and see what's working and what's not for you. And all right, so now that we added a background color, now we can specify the text that we want our headers to be. So right after the body tag, click enter, and we typed in a H1 tag and H3 tag, right? So when you type H1 and then comma, H3, and then do curly brace again. Now in here, we can specify what kind of font we want these headers to be. So you can just type in font. And as I was saying earlier, you really don't have to type everything in. Over here, you can see all the different varieties and all the different attributes we can add or assign to make our website look more unique, right? So I'm just gonna be doing font. And in here, let's do Arial. So when you type that in and save your code and refresh your website, I think that was what was already there. Let me type in. Now when you refresh your website, your header should be changing unless you want to also do font family. And here you can type in. And here you can get like a variety of fonts that you can add. So I'm just gonna click the second one and save my code. And you can see how how my code or how my headers or titles changed in my website because I changed the font, right? Yeah, so I'm just gonna take out the header 1 and header 3 tags. I'm just gonna focus on body right now. So after you add a font family, you can like categorize this or like make this whatever you want. And one more thing is you can search up different hex codes. So like light blue, for example, and you can get whatever kind of hex code you're looking for, or you can type in font family for HTML code. And you can get different fonts that you can type in. So if you can't think of something right off of the top of your head, you can definitely do this to get some ideas. So just throwing that out there. And now let's do one more thing, and then I'll give you guys some time to just play around with this, change the color, add some more headers maybe. So now all our text is to the left, which makes it look really unprofessional, and not even that, but just doesn't make it really aesthetically pleasing, right? So to assign this text right here to be in the middle of our website, so like right here instead, we want to do text, align, and then center. So you want to type this in, this line of code. And when you click save and you refresh, you can see how our website just changed the alignment, and now it's all in the middle, making it look way better in general. If you spell the font wrong, it's most likely just not going to do anything. Let's see what it does. Or it might just go on to the next font that you have here. Yeah, because we already had that, so now it's not changing anything since we already saved the earlier code, so it's not really making a change. All right, so now do you guys just want some time to like make your websites look a little bit better? Just like play around with this for some time and then I will continue. Oh, oops. I meant to send this message to everyone. So just play around that for a while and then is 10 minutes enough or should we do 15 minutes of just playing around with CSS and HTML? What do you guys think? Type in the chat how much time you guys want. All right, so we'll be taking 15 minutes to just play around with this. And as I think someone just asked how to underline your text. So to underline your text, you're going to be using a U tag. So something that looks like this. And whatever you type in here should be underlined like that. So when you do a U tag in your body, because when you want some kind of text to show up on your website, remember that it's always going to be in the body tag, right? So when you type hello in a U tag in the body, it should show up as underlined right here. Oh, and one more thing before I let you guys go and just do your own thing. So do you guys notice how over here all this is just like right next to each other and doesn't really look nice, right? So if we want this to go to the next line, we can do a break tag. So that's what a break tag looks like. And usually you'll need one more tag that goes with it. So you want to do that and then do another BR. Oh, I need to save my code. So when you do two BR tags, it just goes more to the next line, like it gives more space below. And if you were to just do one, it'll just go to the next line that's like right after. So depending on how many break tags you guys give, so this is called a break tag. So depending on how many break tags you give, the lower it'll go in the space. After this, we'll get into dividees. Will be a bit more complicated. So how about 15 minutes to just play around with this? Oh, and as for adding a picture, we can definitely get into that a little bit after this. So maybe in the next lesson, we can learn how to add a picture, or because you're gonna have to add that into your folder, right? Okay, for anyone who wants to listen to how to add a picture, we'll just do that right now because we're gonna be running out of time. So to add a picture, just go to Chrome. Oh, and for the person who's having an error with the U tag, it's most likely because you didn't end the tag. It's gonna be giving an error like until you end it. So when you type in just U, this is gonna be giving an error until you type the greater than sign, and then it won't be giving an error anymore. And for a lot of these questions, you guys can go to another really useful resource called W3 Schools. So just type in W3 Schools in your browser and click on HTML. And over here, there's so many different things that you can do with your website and like how to make it like add more attributes to it pretty much. And you can just type in like any of your questions into this website. So over here, if you want to change your background color, there's code for that. If you want to change the style of your website, there's code for that. Anything of that sort, even the font, or if you want to add a border to your website, you can also do that. So there's just so many different things that you could try with that, like how to add an image, for example. You can even have the code for that right now. And this is something I really want you guys to do. Just to go to W3 Schools and type in like any questions you have or anything that you're looking to add to your website. You can literally just search up on there and it'll give you the code for it. And try to implement that into the website that we created earlier today. So try to incorporate that into Web Dev Day 1. And I definitely don't expect you guys to do this as homework, but this is just something if you guys are interested in doing. It's definitely fun to, make your website look more unique. So that's something. And for the people who are having any errors with trying to get the hello to show up, here's the code in the chat that you can type in and see if it's an error with typos, or if it's not that, I think it might just be that you're typing it into the wrong table or like into the wrong tag. So make sure that you're typing the hello into the body tags. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I see you forgot to end the input line, which is right here. Okay, I'm glad it works now. And for anyone who's not able to go to the website and see or change the name of their code file, have you tried searching it up in your folder maybe? Maybe search it up and it should show up then. And if not, you can just create a new file since we didn't really do anything that's worth like really keeping saved on this file today. You could just make a new file and paste the code that I put in the chat. Yeah, let me post the code that I have right now into the chat for anyone who might find that useful. All right, and just a few reminders. So if you guys are looking to save your code, so you know that your code isn't saved, first of all, when there's a white dot right here, right? So when you want to save your code, you just click Control S. And the white dot should disappear, and that means that you've saved your code. So now when you go to your website, when you refresh, you should always see the most current version of your code. And as for the meta tags here, you can just delete those, honestly, because I don't think we're going to be getting into that right now, and that's nothing important for your code to be working. It's just something that comes with as a default with your code. And look at that, even if I like deleted that, it doesn't make a change to any part of my code. So you don't have to worry about that right now. Since we are kind of running out of time today, I'll just show you guys how to add a picture, and then after that, you guys can get more time to just work on your website and change more things. So to add an image, first you want to go to your Chrome or whatever browser extension you're using. And you want to type in whatever you want like to show up, right? So I want a picture of ice cream. So I can just type in ice cream image and just click any of the images that you want to use. So I'll use this one. And when you right click it, you want to save the image as image1.jpg, depending on like what the file type of that image is. And before we like actually make the image show up on our website, just know that you might get errors with like the images not showing up, and you really don't know why because you have the correct code for it. And sometimes it's not the code but the image itself. Sometimes VS Code has like a hard time dealing with images of like different data types. So like if it's not JPEG or if it's like something else, that might also be giving a error. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes it's not your code but the image itself that's just like does not work with your code. So yeah, so now that you guys downloaded that, you want to go to your Finder. So over here you downloaded the image, right? So it should be showing up here now. And just honestly, I think you can drag it. Yeah, so just drag it to your web page or where you're saving your website. So mine is right here. So I'm just gonna add my image right below. So when you add your image to the folder where you have your website file, you can now type in the code to get your to get the image to show up. So I want my image to show up right after the hello. So you want to add an image tag for this. So image src, and you want to initialize this. So another thing that we didn't cover today was initializing. So initializing is when you make anything equal to something. So here I'm initializing the image source tag to the ID or whatever I named the image. And I named my image image1.jpg, which you can see right here. And when I click tab, I just want to end the tag and save my code. And when I click refresh, the image pops up. And now we can add a lot of things to this image. Like this looks way too big for my website, right? So I can change the width and the height of this. But since we have just 5 minutes, I'm gonna let you guys try this on your own. And as I said, you can go to W3 Schools if you want to like see how you can change the height or width of this image. So you could type that in there too. So is the image working for everybody, or should we go over how I just did that again? All right, let's go over how to add an image once again. So first you go to your browser, whatever extension you're using. And then okay, so you go to your browser, right? So over here for me, I'm just using Chrome, and you just type in whatever kind of image you want. And then when you click on the image, you want to right click and then click Save Image As. So once you click Save Image As, you want to name it something, right? So I'm going to name this image 2.jpg. And then you can choose like the file that you want to save this in. So I'm not gonna really save it in a specific folder right now because I can just drag it from my downloads to the folder in my VS Code. So now when you just click save, it should download. And now when you go to your Finder or your folder where you have all your downloads, click on the image and drag it to whatever folder you're having this web file in. And if you don't have it in a file, I mean in a folder, I think that's also fine. You can just add the image. Wait. So you can add the the image into any folder that you have the website in, where you created the website file in. So after you add it into that file, now I'm just gonna copy this. I'm not gonna type this again, but you just want to type that in and change the image or like whatever you named the image. So the second image that I made it called image 2. So that's what I'm typing in here. And when I click Control Save and I refresh, you can see the second image also pop up here. Wow, those are really big pictures, so I'm gonna have to decrease the size of those. But yeah, so that's how you add an image. And this might not be working for people if okay, so yeah, I see that some people are having errors with this. This is most likely because like the picture doesn't work with your code. So try to find a different picture and try that. Because sometimes the file type of the image just doesn't like work with your code. So to create a new folder, you want to right click earlier just how you did to make a new file. Instead, right underneath, you're going to see a text that says new folder. So you want to click that. And then you can name this folder anything you want. So new folder, and then you can type in web. I'm going to type in intro web dev classes. So this is going to be the name of my folder. And when I click enter, you can see that the folder got made. And now when I right click on the folder and click new file, I can make files inside that folder. So let's do practice.html. I'm just going to do 3 because I have other files with the same name. So now when I click enter, now I have a file called, now I have a website file in that folder. And guys, ignore all the other folders I have. I think I might just delete them for the next class to make it look a bit more simple. But yeah, just ignore those folders and just look at the intro web dev classes folder and how I made a file in that. So I hope that cleared any questions on how you create any folder. All right, so that's it for today's first session. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you had anything that you want to specifically talk about in our next lesson, maybe like type it in the chat. And yeah, that's it for today. So you guys can exit the meeting if you would like. If you have any questions, type them in the chat or in the WhatsApp group, and we can try responding to that. Class is over now. It ends at 12:30. We're actually at 12:33 right now. So yeah, we're done for today. It's going to be every Saturday from 11 to 12:30 CST. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all for attending
you.
today.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rushita.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll provide the recording in like 1 hour. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you.